For me, this is where my complete love for these begin.
Mechanically speaking, well, they're a nice looking car.
However, look, it's not all good news for the XC60, I'm afraid. Okay, this review might break a few hearts, honestly, including mine, because we're going to show you everything that can commonly go wrong with these. We're going to show you what they're like to drive, live with, and how they're aging now that they're a few years old. We're going to answer the big question once and for all: should you ever seriously consider buying one? But before we do all of that, we really should establish what the XC60 really is. The middle child of the Volvo SUV range, the XC60 first landed on our shores in late 2017, initially in 5 variants across 3 trim levels. And those 5 variants related to whatever power plant was lurking beneath. The range consisted of 2 diesel engines and 3 petrols with ever increasing levels of complexity. And the trim grades, well, they'll vary depending on the engine variant, but we're talking Volvo here, so even that's too simple. Late in 2019, a T8 Polestar was released, boasting more power and a host of performance mods, and it was designed to go head-to-head with the BMW X3 M40i. Also, these T8 hybrid models, they're pretty good for about 45 kilometers of pure EV driving. Then in 2022, the entire range was mechanically updated, the aesthetics changed a little bit, and the levels of equipment and features, they had a solid going over too. The previous T5 and T6 petrol engines and the diesel D4 and D5 engines were binned for mild hybrid petrol power plants named the B5 and B6, with the T8 or Recharge badged plug-in hybrid variants joining a few months later. However, Volvo increased the power and the size of those batteries for the plug-in hybrids from early 2022. And if all of this isn't confusing enough, well, in 2023, Volvo just changed the names of everything. The B5 Momentum became the Plus B5, the B5 Inscription turned into the Ultimate B5 Bright, the B6 R Design is now the Ultimate B6 Dark, and the Recharge plug-in hybrid is now stupidly called the Recharge Ultimate T8 plug-in hybrid. Then on top of all of that, you've got the endless range of options and feature packs, but even they will vary on what they have depending on the trim spec, the model variant, and the year. Volvo, why? Why all this confusion? Is this some sort of psychological sales trick you're trying to play on people? Like, are consumers going, oh hey, what XC60 did you get? I have no idea, I just heard a whole bunch of names and numbers and just went, yeah, I'll take one. Why? Anyway, thanks to this ridiculous range of different possible examples, the pricing varies enormously. At the cheapest end of the spectrum, you're looking at about $30,000. At the high end of the spectrum, nearly $120,000. That's a $90,000 spread across the used XC60 range. However, if you bought one of these brand new, you might want to skip ahead in the video a little bit because we're going to talk depreciation. A 2020 T6 R Design retailed here in Australia, brand new, for about $80,000. That same car today, they're swapping hands for around about $45,000. It's lost nearly half its value in just 4 years. And to put that into perspective versus some of the competition, a 2020 Lexus RX 350 F Sport, when brand new, was also asking about $80,000. That car now on the used market are swapping hands for around about $70,000. Sometimes even more than that, but we don't want to go rubbing salt into the wounds. Anyway, speaking of smart financial decisions, if you're after any car finance or you want to refinance your current car, click the driver link down below. You could save hundreds, even thousands of dollars by clicking that link because Driver will source you the very best finance package from loads of different lenders. Plus, the entire process is so easy and completely free to do. Now, let's talk exterior and looks. And here's a fact for you. These are objectively the best looking SUV in its category. If you disagree, that's totally okay because it's totally okay to be wrong. For me, this is where my complete love for these begin. And understandably, right? Like, look at it, it's beautiful. Actually, you know how you can tell if a car design was right from the very beginning? Look at the mid-cycle update. If very few things changed at all, they got the design right at the start. That's the case with the Volvo. Volvo dealerships, they didn't have existing or potential customers coming in going, oh yeah, it drives great and it's got loads of kit, but I just don't know about the looks. I think it's a bit ugly. That never happened. But you know what has happened? Unfortunately, it's a few complaints about stuff going wrong with the exterior. Firstly, a few owners of the earlier examples have complained that the glue holding the rubber seals on, or just the rubber seals, they're coming loose. It shouldn't happen, but luckily it's a pretty easy fix. Also, a bit of a design fault. On the rear doors, the rubber seals around the rear doors can let a bit of mud and dust in. Now, there are some reports that some of the aluminium trim can oxidize. It can be cleaned, but if it goes too far, replacing any of the aluminium trim parts is going to be bloody expensive. Some owners have complained that the brake rotors and brake pads can wear prematurely. Other owners claim this is ridiculous and they're getting just the right amount of time out of their brake pads and rotors. I think the issue comes down to how heavy your right foot is. However, if your right foot is on the heavy side, we are talking Volvo parts here, so pads and rotors, they're going to be expensive. Now this one isn't exclusive just to the XC60, but there are reports of this. If you don't have your drainage channels and the sunroof cleared out, water can find its way into the cabin, play havoc with your electronics. It's an absolute nightmare. If you don't do this and water finds its way in, sometimes we're talking the seats and all the carpets have to come out, sometimes even the dashboard has to come out. All of that is going to be bloody expensive. Then there are the weird sporadic reports of electronic gremlins like the rear view camera. Sometimes it only works on occasion, sometimes it just takes forever for the image to show up on the screen inside. Then you've got issues with lights playing up, the windows and the mirrors playing up. They are more sporadic, but they can happen. As can minor build quality issues like this. Then some owners have complained of knocking and clunking sounds coming from the front end. The issue is when they've taken it to their dealership, the dealership and eventually Volvo have claimed that this knocking and weird feeling sensation is within the parameters of what they deem acceptable for the car. Also on the suspension, models fitted with air suspension, yes, when it's working perfectly, it is utterly sublime to drive. The issue is if it starts failing, like all air suspension with all manufacturers, fixing it and resolving it can be a complete nightmare. Okay, now common issues inside, and this is a big complaint across really all Volvo models, it's the bloody infotainment system. Honestly, if you can think of an infotainment gremlin of some sort, chances are an XC60 and this thing has experienced it. We're talking Bluetooth connection issues, CarPlay and Android Auto connection issues, phantom selections happening, the whole system locking up, or the whole system locking up so badly that the whole car has to be restarted to reboot it. Now, according to many owners, the previous Census tech is a far improvement over the more recent Google-based stuff, but even then, they've all got their own issues and gremlins. However, what can be really bad with the Google-based systems is apparently when it locks up, it actually locks up a whole bunch of other functions with the car. We're talking indicator sounds, we're talking sensor sounds, all of those things just stop working, and again, you have to restart the entire system. Sometimes to fix it, you've actually got to take it back to the Volvo dealership for a complete software update. Now look, obviously with all of the issues we're covering in these cars, there are thousands of owners out there that have never experienced an issue, but they can happen. Actually, Andrew, that owns this particular car, he's had none of these problems. Totally faultless ownership experience. But trawl through the owners groups and forums, and yeah, you'll see quite a few infotainment complaints. Actually, just on Andrew and those owners groups and forums, Andrew, thank you so much for lending us your car. You're a legend. And also the owners groups, thank you so much for helping us research this video. Couldn't have made it without you. Now, a few owners have also complained, especially in the earlier models, a few rattles and weird noises coming from the interior. Apparently a deep dive with your ears and some cloth tape can fix it, and it's worthwhile taking that deep dive. Apparently the fan for the HVAC or the air conditioning is a bit piss weak. Luckily, it doesn't get very hot in Australia, so we don't really have to complain about it. Apparently for models from 2022, they lack a lot of the features of previous models. We think this is down to the whole semiconductor supply issue. Just disappointing, but. Now, some owners have experienced times where the accessory battery just runs out of charge and it can leave the entire car completely immobile. And just like the exterior, there are the sporadic complaints of weird electronic gremlins, windows not working, certain buttons not functioning, lighting issues. Sometimes they're incredibly cheap and easy fixes. Other times it does require a whole new wiring loom. Also, Volvo are going to hate me saying this, but plenty of owners, they have recommended not going to Volvo dealerships for the servicing and maintenance stuff. Apparently some of the prices they can charge are just absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention some of the actual quality people are seeing is not very good. You might be better off seeing an independent mechanic instead. But aside from the common issues, what an interior this is. Yeah, I know I'm biased. I love these cars, but come on, look at the design in here. It's not just the design either, it's just the way it all works. See, some premium SUV interiors, they're absolutely beautiful, but they don't encourage you to use them. It's a bit like that room at your auntie's house that you're not allowed to go in because it's only for the really special guests that come over. This is different. It almost feels like it wants you to push buttons and it wants you to use things. And also, this particular example, it's got nearly 120,000 Ks on it. It's about 6 years old, and the wear and tear is so good. Okay, the squidge on some of the seat bolsters is getting a little bit on the soft side, and the leather is getting a little bit shiny, but that can be restored. Aside from that, door card's great. All the plastic surfaces are excellent. Everything feels and just touches nicely. Also in the whole touching, feeling thing, this is a pre-update car. Post-update, all the materials did get a bit of a hike in quality, but even for pre-update, really nice. It does, it feels premium. Even as far as the ergonomics go, it just makes sense. The seats, so comfortable but also supportive. These are the R-Design seats, they are fantastic. But where you sit, there's so much adjustability to the driving position, but it was so fast to get the perfect driving position for me. The height of the armrest and here, it all just works. Although one thing for me that doesn't work that great is the infotainment system. It's okay, but it's just not that intuitive. I mean, even as far as practicality goes, again, it just makes sense. The door bins are massive. Rather than having grab handles, you've got little mini buckets in the doors. Got this beautiful slidey trapdoor thing for your 2 cup holders here, spot for your keys just there, power outlet there, another little cubby hole here, good sized little cubby hole here, nowhere for sunglasses, there's nothing under there, I don't think there's anything under the seats. Oh, there's a net there, excellent. Now, another reason to buy a Volvo over the more predictable competition like Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz is that for the money, you'll generally get more stuff from a Volvo than you will with those guys. For example, even in the earliest base spec XC60, you're going to get an excellent sounding 330 watt 10 speaker sound system. You're going to get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, leather upholstery, Volvo's active high beam lighting, automatic parking, a 360-degree camera, plus all of the usual stuff like dual zone climate control, power everything, rain sensing wipers, and so much more. However, climb up the XC60 food chain and my God, aren't you going to get some toys? 4-zone climate control, a cooled glove box, a head-up display, premium Napa leather upholstery, wireless smartphone charging, and a 15-speaker 460 watt Bowers & Wilkins sound system. And honestly, this is one of the best in-car hi-fi systems I've ever heard. It is exceptional. Also, being a Volvo, it is loaded to the hilt with safety equipment. But to take you through what safety features that you can expect, we're going to cut to another voiceover, but this time it's someone from Volvo's current homeland.
至少您将获得7个安全气囊、牵引力、稳定性和翻滚控制、自动紧急制动、带走走停停的自适应巡航控制、车道保持辅助、主动驾驶辅助和城市安全技术、盲点监控和后方交叉交通警报均具有自动支持、交通标志识别功能。老实说，这是您可以购买的最安全的汽车之一。
Now, if you do need all the specific details and the ultimate used XC60 buyer's guide, go to ReDriven.com and check out the completely free XC60 cheat sheet. It will answer all of your questions. Now, on the subject of talented and stylish Swedes, I'm exactly 6 centimeters shorter than actor Alexander Skarsgård. This is my driving position, and it is bloody delightful back here. First of all, the seats, so comfortable. Also, there's a little bit of lateral support, which is nice in an R-Design. Heaps of knee room, heaps of foot room. Even the transmission tunnel, it isn't massive, so sitting in the middle won't be a complete nightmare. Now, it is a dark interior, but because of the panoramic sunroof and the big windows, it feels spacious and airy, which is quite nice. As far as wear and tear in this particular car, this does get used all the time. This back seat does go to work out, but you'd never know. The leather still feels great. The Alcantara feels great. If that is Alcantara, I think it is. Door cards are great. Obviously, every XC60 is going to vary with wear and tear depending on their lifestyle, but this one with a lot of use, really good. Then as far as practicality and features in the back seat, you've got some nets back here. You've got your own air vents here and here, but you've also got your own air conditioning controls. You've got 2 door bins in the doors, and you can actually get to them even when you're sitting in it. You don't have to break your arm to get into it. Pull down armrest. You've got a little tray here. You've got storage here. You've got slide out cup holders. Also, I think this is a 2.5 cup holders. I think there is room for a small pretentious coffee like an espresso there. They're the coffees I drink. Also, this flips down so you've got access into the boot in case you're, I don't know, competing javelin. Then as far as practicality in the boot, obviously loads of space here. There's no load lip, which is excellent. You've got some elastic hooks here for stuff. You've got tie down points. And to fold the seats flat, just push this button. And look at that. Hang on. Wait. Hang on. It worked before, I promise. Okay, it's not working now, but the left one worked. Think about what you want when it comes to the driving experience of a premium SUV like this. You want it to feel safe, you want it to feel supremely comfortable. You want to know you've got enough power and handling ability to get you out of even the diciest situation, but you also want to feel completely isolated from everything going on out there. And you want all of these attributes to be presented to you in a completely effortless manner while still feeling totally premium all the time. Well, the good news is the XC60, after even 6 years and nearly 120,000 Ks, it still provides all of that. It doesn't feel let's say, as special as a Porsche Macan, but it definitely feels more premium than what you get from even the best Toyotas and even Mazdas. Actually, you know what? If you're a Mercedes-Benz fan, you're going to hate what I'm about to say. We reviewed a GLC recently, and this feels far more premium than the used example of that. Although we filmed an XC40 earlier this week, and it was newer than this, less kilometers, and its driving characteristics had degraded far more than this one. However, look, it's not all good news for the XC60, I'm afraid. Over really coarse roads, the road roar noise can get a little bit on the annoying side, and the steering, even in dynamic mode, is a bit too light, but I'm being extremely picky. Of course, there's also the cost of OEM wiper blades, not just for Volvos, but for all cars. They can be ridiculous, let alone the whole trying to decipher the huge range of options at your local parts store. That can be a complete nightmare. Luckily, WiperTech has you covered. Hit the link below to get 15% off and free express shipping on some of the easiest to order, easiest to fit, and best wiping and wiper blades we've ever used. Overall, for what this category of car is supposed to offer you in as far as the driving experience goes, this thing still nails it. Power's good, it's quiet, it's refined, it handles beautifully. It's a bloody wonderful thing to drive. Although, what mechanically can go wrong with these? Well, I can't tell you, I'm afraid, because I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
Mechanically speaking, yes, they are a good looking car. Look, okay, they're not that bad, but they do have some issues. One of the big issues a lot of people complain about is oil consumption. And a more serious issue, which can be related to the oil consumption problem, is just broken pistons. Plenty of reports of that too. I should just mention I am talking about the petrol models, by the way. The supercharger versions, they are plagued with inlet and vacuum leaks, which causes lean codes and all sorts of problems. Another thing that causes lean codes and misfires is fuel injector problems, plenty of those as well. Another thing that causes lean codes is issues with the evap system. They have purge valve issues and fuel cap issues, and a lot of those can make the car run lean and suck air and misfire, and a lot of fault codes. They do have an issue with the front crankshaft seal, and that just spews oil out everywhere. And in bad cases, it spews it all over the timing belt, and that can lead to timing belt complications and even timing belt failure if it's not addressed soon enough. If you have a leak there, you must do the timing belt as well. They are also known for having crankcase and PCV breather issues. Quite often you hear it, and that's just another problem that causes lean fault codes as well, really. Now, I just want to say that those problems are grouped together because all of the petrols and the petrols with turbos and superchargers and the hybrids, they are all known for those problems. Now, also on the hybrids, they are considered largely reliable, surprisingly. They're also having plenty of problems with their ERAD system. That's the electronic rear axle drive unit. Plenty of issues there, and a lot of those are getting done under warranty, and some cases also under extended warranty. But I say this a lot, that warranty won't be around forever. The hybrid systems, they're also having some cooling system complications as well, but yeah, the ERAD is by far the worst of it. Now on to the diesels, and you don't often hear me saying this, but I think the diesel here is the one to get. They're not perfect though, there's plenty of problems with the AdBlue systems, they have injector issues. One of those injector issues causes difficulty starting, that's a pretty common problem too. They also have plenty of issues with oxygen sensors, and the map sensors in these are prone to clogging up as well. Now that can lead to subsequent DPF complications as well, so that's something to be mindful of. If you're having chronic DPF issues, just make sure the map sensors and the oxygen sensors are all in good working order. Another thing I want to point out is a lot of owners complain about chronic electrical gremlins. They're all over the car basically, and a lot of those can be attributed to the secondary or the support battery in these things. If you've got a problem with the electronic systems, check that battery, but you know, they have module problems and screen problems and just electrical problems all the way through the car. Now I just said this in the recent XC40 video as well. Now it's important to mention that Volvo as a brand, even though they don't have huge catastrophic failures and they don't even seem to have too many class actions against them that I'm aware of, for some reason, they are ranking in the bottom 5 of all serious and major dependability studies. And that's because there are just so many small, annoying problems.
So after all of that, look, about the only scenario in which you should buy a used XC60 is if you are completely aware of what you're getting yourself into and you have the financial means to keep it at its best. Although even then, there are a few conditions. We've lost count of how many owners expressed their love for the XC60, and as so many of them have found, an XC60 with fastidious maintenance can be completely reliable. Unfortunately, however, many used examples, they lack this level of care and attention. Loads of XC60s have been owned by people that have no intention of keeping the car for the long term. They often don't care if a service is late or has been skipped altogether. They're happy to cut costs wherever they can because chances are, if something does go wrong down the track, well, it'll be someone else's problem. These people are obviously selfish pricks, but they are out there. Do not buy one of their cars. Just find the perfect example, maybe have a few $1,000s stashed away in case something goes wrong, and make sure you get all the critical pre-purchase inspection checks done, and if it ticks all of those boxes, it's a cautious yes. Although if you're happy to take even more of a risk into luxury European SUVs, maybe check this one out as well. But a question for you, if you weren't to buy an XC60 or that, what would you buy? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. A 2020 Lexus RX 350 F Sport was, in my brain. This goes across the board for all Volvos.
Ah.
No, don't do that.